So this is going to be a fun interview. So when I was researching Ahmed's background and otherwise, and I'll read the bio right now, but very diverse background for being a healthcare and a tech entrepreneur. So let's just get into the bio and you'll see what I mean. I got tons of questions for you. This is going to be fun. All right, so Ahmed Omar is the founder of Sully.ai. Ahmed started selling online, and really has an MMA background. He became the #1 fighter in Egypt, receiving 3-time gold medals. Quickly realized he was more passionate about tech, and in 2014, he left to NYC and built a brand from 0 to 55 million in e-commerce sales in 3.5 years, ranking #1 in Amazon placements. Due to his passion for tech, in 2015, Omar built an app to help consumers find their pictures on their phone in 3 seconds. In 2000, he met Nasser. Together, they built the #1 auto tech startup in the MENA region with 55% of market share. After his multiple successes in different industries, Omar decided to focus on healthcare, now building one of the fastest growing AI healthcare startups in the Bay Area called Sully.ai, which is solving the shortage of doctors' problems by making doctors 100 times more efficient. So first off, Ahmed, welcome.
Thank you so much. I like that you have my chief medical officer's picture instead of mine. But it's good. I like
Hey, oh, who did that?
I like it.
I'll take it.
I like it. He's a doctor though. I'm not the doctor.
I'm in.
Yeah, he deserves to be.
We're giving that one to, hold on. That's why Elias didn't show today, right there. Take that, it's recorded, Elias, we're coming. That's
But I
awesome.
like it. It's good.
So,
I like my picture.
background in MMA, I have to get into that part of it. So, like, talk to me about how you got started in that world of things. We'll get up to what you're doing today, but how did all that start for you?
Yeah, I think I was growing up. I was always sparring with my father. Like when I was 7, I was always sparring with my dad. Like being strong was something important, and I was inspired by some of the fighters in the world that they changed something, not just by fighting, but they influenced a lot of people. So I started fighting, but I was good at it. Took the first place in Africa 4 times, and did boxing only, and then did MMA, mixed martial arts, played for Cage Warriors. It was fun. But I think the most important thing that I enjoyed was the problem-solving aspect of it. Like in 25 minutes, it was the enjoyment was like the solving the problem of winning the match. It wasn't really that I like to hit people or or get
I had to like it a little bit.
get my ass kicked. Actually, no, not at all. I've never had a fight. Yeah, I've never had a fight in like any bar or any street. I've never. Yeah, maybe because of how I look, but yeah, like I usually never. Yeah, like I just liked it. And at some point when I was 19, I went pro pretty quickly. Like I was 17, I went to the Cage Warriors. I used to stream on Sky Sports. So got my ass kicked on TV as well. So I have to tell everybody. Yeah. So I did that, and when I was 19, I remember I was selling. So in order to do the sport, my father didn't like it. At some point, when he started seeing it being really serious, he was like, "Maybe you should stop. You go back home with looking differently, right? Like your face looks completely different. So it's not like you can ask me who's that, walking in there." So I started selling online selling products in Dubai. I grew up in Dubai. I was selling like used products and taking that money and paying my coaches, to fight. And then I started making money from fighting. And then I started buying merchandise and continuing selling online. So it was back and forth. But I enjoyed when I saw people using something that I sold more than winning any fight. So that's when I knew, when I was 19, 20, I knew that I wanted to build something that people use, either physical or a digital product that could save something or make a better impact. And that's when I decided I don't want to fight anymore. Yeah.
So I want to stay in the early days just a little bit longer, because I feel like there's certain themes that maybe they correlate to entrepreneurship, and I feel like, and I want to hear from you if this is true or not, if some of it kind of carried over, and that's part of the reason for the success that you've experienced. Like, what do you think made you so successful? I mean, to be a champion, like that's not hard. Those are tough sports that you were competing in, and against a lot of people who, let's just say, you had other skills. Some people that are in those sports, that's what they're doing. Like that's what they're doing. That's their life. What do you think made you so successful?
I would actually say I would tell you a story. I started fighting, and I wasn't really that good when I started. like being the number one fighter was something I never thought of. And when I started, I was 12. As I started like being more serious, one of the most successful fighters took the second place in the Olympics for boxing in Egypt. His name is Muhammad Rida Ali. They used to call him the Muhammad Ali of the Middle East. Yeah, so very big guy. He came to me when I was 14 years old and told me, you see like this guy over there, Nina, he's been training for years. This guy over there has been training since he was 8. I think you should find another sport. Yeah, and I remember going back home this day, and I think that's when the switch happened. The switch happened was that if I take what he told me, I would always take what people tell me, and I just quit. And at this day, I think the switch happened in my brain that, yeah, not anyone, you know, could. Even though he's very influential, I used to look up to him as well. So.
That's like one of your idols telling you, hey,
exactly.
don't do this.
Yes, exactly.
So, for most people, that'd be pretty devastating.
Yeah. And then I took the year, a year and a half later, I took the first championship in boxing. Yeah. And then, I started focusing on how to improve 1% daily. And that's when I think consistency and, persistence and I would say discipline comes together and creates something impossible that you might not even think about at some point. And that became in everything I do. What's 1% better today? What can we do 1% better today? And most of the VCs, when they invested in our company, when they started meeting us, the first meeting was like there was a month difference between their first meeting and the month. They would always come back and say, what the fuck happened to the product? And I would say, yeah, we improved the product 1% daily. So by the time they invest, the product looks completely different. Wow. Much better. So I think we do that in everything. I did that in everything I did. And I think it was because that switch, happened in my brain, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so you now go into e-commerce, and maybe you didn't even know, I don't know if it was called e-commerce back then, you were just buying stuff and selling stuff, right? Like taking your winnings and selling stuff. What was that like, figuring out those problems? Because, that's a theme of figuring out problems.
Yeah, it's really like the Rolex example, someone wants something, some other person does not want it. So it was about bridging that gap when I was younger, because I couldn't buy. So I would go for someone who's throwing away his bicycle and going to another kid who wants the bicycle and then, sell it. And then I started doing that online, and then I started doing that with products. And I started seeing people.
What year was this roughly?
Around 2006, I was
before the
13
tech
years old.
Before the tech wreck. You're 13 at this time?
I was 13. Yes,
wow.
Yes, yeah. And it was something like Craigslist in the Middle East called the Vizzle. And I sold actually my dad's motorcycle. And and then he said, I don't want to sell the motorcycle. I told him that he told me.
Did you get a commission?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I got my first $100.
Your first.
Yeah, and he told me, who told you that I want to sell the motorcycle? I told him, you told me 2 days ago that I want to sell it. He's like, no, I was just giving an example that I want to sell. I'm like, what the hell? Like, do you want to sell it or not? The guy's here, and he ended up selling it. And
you get your commission either way, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, I get my commission. The guy's here. You don't sign, that's on you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was really funny. But then I started buying different products, seeing what people need, and there was always this market that's like very low priced market that people in rich areas can't reach and would never go there. It's a really bad area, but they have really good products. So we used to always go to these areas and try to bridge the gap for people who buy online could see them. In early days in the Middle East, if you search, almost everything was not available on the internet. So just me making it available as a link, as an SEO, was an opportunity, that I had to leverage. Yeah.
And so you had other ventures, like I'll pick one other one, and then we'll go into Selly, of course. But the auto tech side of things, like to have that type of market share, like how did you come up with that idea? Like, where did that come from?
The idea came from that my sister was pregnant, and she was trying to fix her car, and she couldn't. And it was like impossible.
I see a vehicle theme here.
Yeah.
We got a motorcycle, we got another.
Yeah, maybe, exactly. And she couldn't fix her car, and if I wasn't there in the country, then my dad is busy, then she can't fix her car. So yeah, I found that marketplace very helpful. I got the parts on the platform as a marketplace like Amazon, and then I got the suppliers who fix the parts. So instead of just shipping you the part, I'll ship you the guy and fix it at your doorstep. And we grew to over 1 million users in a year and a half. And yeah, and I think we did about $500,000 the first year, 4.5 million the second year, and then about 10 million the last year. I think. Yeah.
So
In
now,
sales, yeah.
so now your latest venture, Sully.ai. So you're obviously a seasoned entrepreneur at this point. You already had some, great successes, and now you transition to healthcare longevity. Like, where did that come from?
I think it was kind of serendipity. My mom, I grew up actually seeing my mom struggling with healthcare. And I never touched healthcare because I'm not a doctor. So I would always think of ideas, but I would say, I'm not into medicine, so I cannot do something there. And I grew up seeing my mom, she had one bad leg with like a mix in vaccines and misdiagnosis and medical errors. And then she kept going to the doctors. And then until she had two bad legs, So it was getting worse. And I felt like there's something wrong with the entire industry, not just in the US, I think globally. There's so much data, the doctors just sit and look at you, and there's 10,000 data points that they need to look at every single time, 20 times a day, so there's no way they could do that. And they're also human, so you can't really expect them to go through all the data, for each and every human being they see this day. So I saw that gap and I thought, what if we run, like I know how to build models, AI models, maybe 5 years ago with BERT before Transformers come out. But I was thinking about what if we can give all this data to the doctor as they talk to the patient in real time. And we became the first company to do it in real time. Problem was language models or AI models are slow. Whenever you send them something, they take 30 seconds to come back, 40 seconds to come back. So we had to use language models, but run them and host them differently. That they would chunk the audio with 7 seconds, send it back, and then come back with the diagnosis, and then improve the diagnosis as the conversation keeps going. And then until the system is certain, it can populate the diagnosis for the doctors, or anything they're missing. Like if I'm talking to you as a patient and you have a reaction to penicillin, and I told you, yeah, I'm gonna prescribe some penicillin for you. Within 20 seconds, it will populate and say, hey, you can't. And even if he tried to put it on your chart, in the EHR, or the electronic medical record, it won't go through until he overwrites it, basically. Yeah. So, and then we started automating all the administrative workflows for them, basically improving the care. I think if something like that existed when my mom was getting her treatments, she could have been better. But we're human. And I think a lot of people look at doctors as, they hate doctors or they have a bad experience with the doctor, so they hate the doctor, but it's a human at the end of the day, right? So I resonated with the doctors to see like how can we solve the problem. And yeah, we built that, launched it almost 11 months ago, and I was just telling GV, right? I call you GV, right? And I launched 11 months ago, and we've been growing almost at a 90% monthly. And then growth, yeah, we have 100 healthcare organizations using Sully today. Yeah, past 7 figures in revenue, recurring revenue. So yeah.
Talk a little bit about the team and that you assembled for this. I see NASA, Tesla, NASA, Tesla, Google, you put together an insane team to create this. It's not an accident. Talk a little bit about that.
And one of the things when I looked at healthcare, in the healthcare space, it was really boring space for a lot of great minds in the Bay Area. So I lived in San Francisco, and when I got there, I started looking at all the healthcare companies that exist, all the healthcare startups, and I started struggling to see that there are no really great people working on the problem because of the regulations, because of the HIPAA enhancements, because of it's slow, it's boring. And I saw it as an opportunity because AI is also changing the compliance part as well. Like we're using a lot of AI tools to complete our compliances every single day and make sure we're compliant. So I wanted to put together a very impressive team in one room. And I started pitching them the idea that we could be the doctor in the future before the patient sees a doctor. You know what I mean? So it's not like we're replacing doctors, but it's a big, good filter that could give certainty to doctors when they meet you. You know what I mean? Or some kind of signals, strong signals. And I started saying we can build a doctor for every human. It's one human, one doctor. So it's a big mission, very hard to solve. And you could get the best people in the world if you have something really hard to solve. So we put together a team from my co-founder and CTO, contributed to over 25 patents at Google, you know, invented the Wi-Fi routing. If you guys ever walk in a mall and you have a blue dot on Google Maps, it's his invention. He invented navigation in indoor spaces. And then co-invented CellBots. It's used by Johnson & Johnson for surgical robots. So he's a really smart guy, but he always loved to build. He would like, we have a big problem in the company now that he's coding a lot. We need him to stop coding and manage. So it's like he meditates when he codes. So I don't know how, but he does. So we have Chaitanya, our CTO, co-founder. Nishit started 2 hardware software companies before as a chief medical officer, as a really successful primary care physician. So actually, one of the things I would say, I was really, like the way I got the team. So actually, I worked for Nishit for 6 months. So after building all these companies, I left everything and I went and worked as a back office admin for 6 months for Dr. Nishit in the Bay Area. I just worked there, I was checking in patient, you know, scribing for the doctor, documenting, doing everything, basically just to understand the problem deeply. And yeah, and then got him as our chief medical officer. He became one of our biggest investors. And then before like we raised substantial funds. And yeah, and then Henry built an AI medical diagnosis company 10 years ago. And like, it's like before a lot of people think about these ideas. He's a doctor too, so he was working in a VC, and he was doing hackathons. He was basically going to hackathons and making $10,000 every 2-3 days from these hackathons because he doesn't want to stop coding. So yeah, and he was working as a VC. So I'm like, I'm there, no offense to any VC here, but I'm like, someone like you should be building 20 hours a day. Like, why are you doing this? And he started rambling, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it, man, just fucking like stop doing VC, just come join us. And yeah, and he jumped on board as well, yeah, as a head of engineering. And then yeah, like we have one of the recruiters that recruited with Elon at Tesla, the entire co-pilot team. So there's a lot of great people. Everyone in the team is really exceptional. I'm the dumbest in the room. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, every single day.
So I have one more question, and then I'm going to open it up for everyone else so that you can also get involved. I'm sure there's some other questions out there. So what was that like, being boots on the ground, like doing the admin work in the back office, like to really understand the problems? Like, did anything surprise you? What was that like?
It was really painful because you know you can solve it, but you don't want to solve it too early. And you don't want to, you know, you can code, and I could code, so if you can solve a problem, you usually go into solving mode right away. But sometimes it's extremely...
You have to let it sit.
Yeah, sometimes it's extremely hard to, you know, just sit with the problem for a long time and understand deeply what they go through. And I'm not a dramatic guy, but I love problems. Like when there's a problem, that means there's something happening. If we have something in the company called obstacles. Every day, every person in the company fills that stand-up form. If they say no obstacles, then there's something wrong. They're not doing something impactful, or they're not doing something, they're not shaking something, they're not trying enough new things. So yeah, like I love problems. So everyone at the clinic used to say, oh, you have a problem, just go to Omar. You know, he likes problems. And it wasn't about liking problem, but I like when I see it solved. That's the dopamine that I get. So yeah, and it was hard, but it was like a lifetime of experience, because I wasn't checking in patients, I was watching patients, how they interact, the network on their phone is not good, they can't check it on the phone, they need to check it on the iPad. So I was watching every single thing, and I built tech products, so I was kind of like doing research 24/7, real-time research. So it was really important for me. And saw also doctors, different types of doctors, same primary care physicians, same experience, same years of experience, have completely different work. She doesn't want to do certain thing before the patient comes, but this other doctor wants to do 3 things before the patient comes. So started seeing like, how can we build a scalable product that could be customized on individual level? So it made me understand the problem deeply. So I think it was painful, but I loved it. I would go back every single time. And actually recruiting the team, I would go online from the clinic, and they would say, "Where are you?" I'm like, I'm in a clinic." Like, "What are you doing in the clinic?" I'm working there. It's like, "Aren't you the founder of the company?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the founder of the company, but I'm still working there." So it was good as a good example, really good example. We have a policy. To be honest, no, we did not still put it as a policy, but it should be a policy starting next month. Is that each team member should work 2 days from a customer's office that we have, so that they can see what doctors go through. And there's a lot of things that breaks when you launch, you know. So yeah, I think it's extremely important. I think it was like something if I did not do, was going to make the product experience completely different.
Amazing. Yeah. All right, let's open up for some questions. Come on, there we go. Tiffany.
Hey Tiffany, nice to meet you too.
But I'm curious about Juliana's thoughts and vision and philosophy on neurological health.
Let me ask you that question again. Let me ask a question. Are you asking the application in the mental health space? So there's, yeah, okay. So for mental health psychiatrists, we have actually one of the biggest groups in the country, and we use certain medical databases before coming up with diagnosis. Some FDA approved databases that we use, but today, the diagnosis part that we give is differential diagnosis. It's a something that could help doctors, not misdiagnosis. But we can never give it certain. We just got FDA clearance because they asked us to remove the percentage that we got out of the diagnosis. Like this is 70%, Parkinson's or something like that. They said no. For us to give you FDA clearance, you have to remove any percentages, and you have to put that this is suggested differential diagnosis. So there's a lot of work to do there. But in terms of things like the conversational, like ambient technology, there's a lot of things that psychiatrists care about more than diagnosis. For example, if someone said he was going on a second date with Amy, right? He would go back and ask them. The doctor wants to see Sully telling him, ask him about Amy. How did the second date go? That actually improves the patient experience by 2 times. So doctors, actually psychiatrists, have been coming with those requests more than I need help diagnosing this patient. For now, I think. But then I think once the AI becomes much better, the models becomes much smarter, we could definitely be very certain with a certain diagnosis. And I think the FDA, I was meeting the FDA like multiple times the past couple weeks, and the FDA is very slow. Like for them to make a decision, they're meeting in the quarter 1, 2025 for the board meeting to discuss something, and that's just a discussion. And then for them to meet again, will probably be in June. So it's like they're very, very slow for them to approve something or basically look at something. What they're doing now, they're trying to understand how transformers work. And the problem is OpenAI, Ilya from OpenAI doesn't understand how transformers work. And he's the one who created OpenAI. So he doesn't understand it 100%. And they need 100% explanation to how it works. As sequence by sequence or recurring neural networks, how do they work? So I think a commissioner, one of the ex-commissioners of the FDA, actually wrote a big article about this and saying FDA shouldn't understand how, they should understand where the resources came from and if they're approved or not. That's it. So it's a long research. What you asked about is a long research. But we come with differential diagnosis, suggested differential diagnosis. Yeah. Yeah, it's a very big, it's a very big project, yeah.
Hey, thank you for sharing. I grew up in Dubai too, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm sure
Which
we got
part of Dubai?
stories all over
Oh,
Dubai,
yeah,
so
nice, that's awesome.
where it was, people know that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Burj Dubai just came out in 2006 or something like that,
The
yeah.
Trade Center was the tallest building.
Yeah,
The World Trade Center.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Did you buy an apartment in Burj Dubai? or not?
Not in the.
Okay, yeah.
Close enough.
Okay, that's good, good enough. Yeah.
But, no, thank you for sharing your story. I'm curious, how did you said you went and worked in the clinic to understand the problem.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Most entrepreneurs don't do that. So how did you already know that that's what you were trying to solve when you started the company? You already had a team, or did you kind of do that on your own independently, market research, and then use that to convince the team to come on board? Or like, how do you sequence all of that?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of problems to solve, but like, how do you go about, I'm more curious.
Yeah. I want to give a lot of credit to my co-founder, Nasser. So it was me and him that wanted to do something in the healthcare space.
You didn't know what.
We didn't know what, no. We didn't know any, we had no idea. We were trying even a lot of different things. And we played with GPT-2 before 3 and 3.5 comes out, so we were testing it on medical information. So we had no idea what we wanted to do. And we didn't want to hire before we understand the problem, before we actually have a solution for it. Because when you start hiring, you basically are saying that the problem is valid, let's go fix it. So you can't say that until you kind of be sure that people will pay for it, at least at some point, or people are going to pull their credit cards, or you can find value or monetize it later, or people are going to keep using it even if they're not going to pay right away. But I think it was a sequence. I think it was me and my co-founder, we wanted to see what we're passionate about.
Had you worked with him before? Or?
Yes, we founded one of the startups together before, so it was the second startup together. So the marketplace was with my co-founder. So we knew that we found each other, and doesn't matter what we do, it'll be successful. So we started thinking, what do we enjoy most? And we found that helping, like saving lives and building tech and making money is really like the best triangle we could do. And we found ourselves like really passionate about this problem, even though we're not doctors. And yeah, we wanted to solve it. And from there, like the sequence was me working at a clinic, CTO joining, CMO joining, Chief Medical Officer joining.
After you?
Yeah, after I've been 6 months, 7 months, yeah. And then CMO joining, and then the head of engineering joining, and then the salespeople joined. It was sequenced this way, but really didn't matter as long as we understood the problem. Everyone, if you talk to anyone in the company today, they would tell you that the founders understand the problem really deeply.
So I guess if you hadn't done that, you think you could have been able to recruit the team you did?
No, maybe not. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe not. No.
That's a big piece.
Yes, exactly.
So you had to sell the vision to them.
Yes. Yes. Selling a vision is something very important, but you have to, what's the proof that you will reach this vision, and what are the actions that you're taking? And if they don't match, most people will just feel like you're just saying words, and it's usually true. Most people just say words.
You lived it.
Yes.
All right, one more, last question.
Yeah, we'll try to make this quick. Congratulations on it.
Why are you in a hurry?
Well, I'm trying to see if we can get to the 2 and the 1.
No, that's
Well,
a good
you're
idea.
staying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
staying for the
Yeah.
programming, so we'll.
I'm going to take this offline.
Better be.
With doctors all the time. Obviously, this is a huge problem you're solving, so kudos to that. And to you guys, recent milestone of getting 120 healthcare in September. Have access to many healthcare systems across the country, and want to pass this along to some folks. I'm just curious who at this organization you guys typically want to connect with that are going to be the ones that understand. Obviously, doctors, you know, direct to a doctor, but is it more like the manager of the positions, or somebody on the TV, or somebody on the executive team?
I wouldn't say there's a typical person. Sometimes the CEO of the healthcare organization is completely useless. No offense to them.
Right.
Yeah, he's just there to collect the money, basically. Or do all the billing. That's it, which is fine. I think it's a very important job unless they won't be able to see more patients. But sometimes it's useless. I mean, to get their attention. So I'm not saying they're useless as human beings or as yeah. But I mean, like, it's useless to have this conversation with them. So sometimes the CEO is the main decision maker. Sometimes the CMO is the main decision maker. Sometimes the COO is the main decision maker. Sometimes it's a doctor in the healthcare organization that's very influential and has actually curated most of their new tech that they're using. So it depends. We try to get the attention of the COO and the chief medical officers or chief information officer or chief medical information officer first, and then we try to get their doctor's attention. And then they validate it with the doctors, and then they come back and say, hey, yeah, we want to give this to more doctors. And it's been 99% successful so
Friend of
far.
mine, are you guys familiar with?
No, I'm not, but I'd love to chat.
Yeah, a friend of mine manages hundreds of doctors, and so I've got a doctor, she would understand this,
Yeah.
and take it to OOMO.
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah, we made it super easy to use. It's one of the easiest platforms in the market today. Yeah, it's one click to do anything the doctor wants. It's literally one click, and it's not one click to get it's not like six clicks to get the entire action done or what they want. It's literally sometimes just one click, and that's it, and they just get everything done. We can record the entire conversation, turn it into a medical note, do the action afterwards. We can automate all these things. So it's really helpful. Like, we have 99% success rate from the pilot to close.
Yeah, from the setup.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's give it up for Ahmed.